Hello, everyone. My name is Lauren Richards, and I'm here to talk to you about the ongoing battle for Mosul. I wanted to do a little brief background for those of you who don't know much about the situation in Mosul. In 2014, ISIS unexpectedly seized control of Mosul in a matter of days in June, after Iraqi security forces abandoned their posts and fled. They left behind huge caches of U.S. made military equipment and supplies, which they used to storm across hundreds of miles of Iraq and near the capital Baghdad before being pushed back. ISIS also plundered an estimated $500 million in cash and gold from the central bank of Mosul, which it had used to fund its military and terror operations. Over 2 years later, in October of 2016, Iraq's Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi had a televised address announcing the recapture of his city. The goal was to recapture everything that ISIS had taken over. More recently, in the past few months, airstrikes carried out by the US and Iraq have caused many Mosul citizens to leave. And the question that I'm answering today is who is responsible for the most recent airstrike? Before I begin talking about the most recent airstrike in Mosul, I wanted to talk about why it is such an important city for Iraq. Mosul is the main industrial city in northern Iraq and a vital hub in the flow of goods to and from Turkey and Syria. Its relative wealth and strategic significance grew after oil fields were discovered nearby in the 1920s and a major oil pipeline was built into Turkey. Located on the river Tigris on the opposite bank from biblical Nevaeh, Iraq's second largest city, Mosul had a population of more than 2 million before ISIS took over in 2014. If you look at the image on the bottom right, you can see that there has been a sudden increase in the amount of Mosul residents that have fled their country. Now more than 195,000 displaced Iraqis are now living in the 21 camps built by the UN and other agencies around Mosul. More camps are planned to cope with the sudden spike in refugees caused by the offensive against western Mosul, and the organization says that many of those who have fled and ended up in camps have witnessed the deaths of relatives, friends, and neighbors, and that children are showing severe signs of trauma. So far, it has taken from mid-October until January 8th of 2017 for Iraqi forces to gain any ground against Iraq and gain full control of the eastern side of Mosul. The image on the left shows the most progress that they have taken in Mosul. The red represents the Islamic State and the green represents the Iraqi forces. So far we can see that the Iraqi forces have seized the Mosul airport back and they are gaining momentum against ISIS. However, the battle for western Mosul will be the most difficult yet. On March 17th, a house in Mosul's western Hadjira district was reportedly hit by an airstrike targeting ISIS snipers and equipment. Witnesses said ISIS had previously forced at least 140 civilians into the house to be used as human shields and had booby-trapped the building. Lieutenant General Stephen Townsend said that the U.S. had carried out airstrikes in that part of Iraq on that day. However, he said that there was at least a fair chance the U.S. was responsible in an unintentional accident of war. However, he also said it was possible that the so-claimed Islamic State had rigged the building with explosives. General Mark Milley of the U.S. said it also claimed that it is very possible that ISIS blew up that building to blame it on the coalition in order to cause a delay in the offensive into Mosul and cause a delay in the use of coalition airstrikes. However, later on he also admitted it is possible that the coalition airstrike did it. And the U.S. Army Chief of Staff, who was visiting Baghdad, echoed General Townsend's remarks, saying that an investigation would create some degree of clarity into the situation. This most recent airstrike did involve the killing of approximately 140 Iraqi civilians, and Amnesty International has released a report accusing the U.S. coalition of failing to take adequate precautions to prevent civilian deaths. The human rights group said it had evidence of an alarming pattern of airstrikes on Mosul, which destroyed whole houses with entire families inside. The UN's human rights chief has called for a review of tactics used by the coalition for the same reason. However, Zeid Ra'ad al-Hussein said bodies were being found in buildings where ISIS had reportedly held people as human shields and were later targeted in airstrikes, and he urged the coalition to avoid such traps and abide by international law. But the U.S. authorities insist the rules of engagement have not changed and there has been no drop in standards. General Townsend made a statement saying, "Although our partners in the coalition have made mistakes that harm civilians, we have never targeted them on purpose, not once." As of right now, it is not clear if there will be a proper investigation into who carried out the airstrike on the house specifically. However, I will be sure to update you of any changes on Wednesday. For now, here are my discussion questions, and I look forward to any questions that you will have for me on Wednesday. Thank you very much.